It was a cold November day in 1969 when a priest drove a 16-year-old girl to an illegal garbage dump outside of Baltimore. There, he told her to get out, and a confused teenager did. And then she saw why he had brought her there. Between rubble and trash laid the dead body of her once favorite teacher. Then the priest turned to the petrified girl and told her, "See what happens when you talk bad about people?" He then ushered her back to the car and drove her home. Let's talk about it. With 18, Catherine Cesnik gave her life to God and joined a convent. Then she became a teacher and started working at a Catholic high school. She was popular and the favorite teacher of many students, and she loved her job. That was until 1969. The 26-year-old Catherine asked her convent for a time out, and she quit her job at a private Catholic high school. She went back to her normal life. She dressed in jeans and t-shirt again, got an apartment with another ex-nun she met in the convent, and she even got a new job at a different high school. While no one understood why Catherine left a life behind that she so clearly loved, her new life seemed to be going well. That was until November the 7th. Catherine came home that day, had dinner with her roommate, and then left again. She went to the bank, the bakery, and she even bought a gift for her sister's upcoming birthday. And then she disappeared. Her roommate, Helen Russell Phillips, immediately got worried when Catherine didn't return home that night. So she called two friends to help look for Catherine. Two priests. One of them called Gary Coop. It was only until much later that the police was called. Early the next morning, the priests went back out to look for Catherine, and they found her abandoned car. The tires were covered in mud, and the door was left unlocked, and stuck in the steering wheel was a tiny wig. But Catherine remained missing. It wasn't until 2 months after her disappearance that a hunter and his son found her decomposing body. Her skull had been smashed in. The first person the police questioned was the priest, Gary Coop. They had heard rumors that the relationship between him and Catherine was very tight. Some might even say too tight. Catherine had even worn a ring on a chain around her neck that he had gifted her. When her body was found, the ring had been on her finger, but the devastated Gary had an alibi. For years, the police tried to find out what happened to Catherine, but nothing came up, and her death became a cold case. What no one knew was that quite a few detectives and police officers in Baltimore had no interest in ever finding Catherine's killer. The reason for that became public in 1992, when two of Catherine's former students made horrific claims about their former school. Teresa Lancaster and Jean Wenner told the public the horrible truth of what happened at Archbishop Q High School. They claimed that assaults were happening daily. The main perpetrator? The school pastor, Father Joseph Maskell. He not only assaulted the two girls that came out, but also many others at the school. And he loaned them out to other men. Those men included doctors, politicians, and police officers. He also drugged the girls and then took pictures of them, which he later used to blackmail them and keep them silent. He called them whores and he forced them to drink his bodily juices, and called it receiving the body of Christ. This abuse happened during the normal school days. He would call whatever girl he wanted to his office through the school loudspeaker. Sometimes 2 or 3 men were waiting there, ready to assault them. When the girls couldn't take this abuse anymore, they confided in their favorite teacher, Catherine Cesnik, who promised the girl she would put a stop to it, but she couldn't. The men doing it were too powerful. She couldn't go to the police because they were also involved, so she left the school. And now, for the first time, it became knowledge that Joseph Maskell and another abuser had paid a visit to Catherine the night before she disappeared. They somehow had found out that the girls had told her the truth. It was him that took Jean Wenner to her body only a few days after she disappeared. He was charged with the assaults, but never went to prison, because the abuse had reached the statute of limitations, and he was never charged with Catherine's murder. He fled to Ireland, where he died in 2001. Not a single man that abused these girls ever saw a prison cell from the inside. They all walked free. But the survivors didn't stay quiet. 2 more came forward in 2013. And they found out even more shocking details, which all led to a Netflix documentary, which I highly recommend you watch. In the 60s and 70s, Baltimore had a high number of unsolved murders, including a woman named Joyce Malecki, who also knew the pastor. In 2017, his body was exhumed, and they tested his DNA with particles found on Catherine's body, but they didn't match. What we do know is that he knew where her body was, long before the police was informed. And we know that the police in Baltimore never questioned him about that.